Hello everybody, welcome to Informatica support videos. My name is Deepak Senthil Kumar and today we are going to discuss on RESTful implementation for Composite and simple SIF calls in Informatica MDM Multi-Domain Edition version 9.7.1. The agenda for today's discussion would be a quick overview on RESTful versus SOAP-based web services, a quick comparison between JSON and XML, and a demo of post method using Composite put SIF calls, and a demo of get method using Composite exact search SIF calls. So RESTful versus SOAP. It's always an argument of which web service to use, whether it's RESTful or SOAP. It purely depends upon the implementation needs, on how tightly coupled they want or how loosely coupled they want to implement the web services. But one thing I can assure you is that when a web page is built and you need to use JavaScript or jQuery, it becomes very difficult if we use SOAP-based web service compared to RESTful services. So RESTful makes it very simple, less cumbersome, since there is no WSDL and it's very loosely coupled. It's very easy to implement as well because there is no need for using XML as the format. You can use JSON, you can use plain text, or any format which is compatible with the RESTful services. And even testing wise, it's very easy because we can just test using the browser itself if it's a get based RESTful implementation of a method. So JSON versus XML. So JSON is Java simple object notation and XML is the extensible markup language. So if you could just see here, I have just put up two examples of the same data set being represented by JSON and XML. So just a car, a Volkswagen car, and Vento, and the price is given here. So initially, if you see in JSON, the company is being present only once, and the name and the price. But if you see XML, the company's open tag is present as well as the company's close tag is present. Same with the name, price. So just by looking at the data, we can easily figure out that JSON is less verbose, that is like less amount of data or less amount of information is required to represent the data compared to XML. And along with JavaScript, again, so as I told with respect to RESTful services, with respect to JSON as well, if it's a web page and JavaScript and jQuery is being used, then JSON is more easier to use than XML. And compared to XML, JSON is very easy to learn because it's almost a representation of any normal data structure. And there are no strict rules like the XML. Again, it's very loosely coupled. So in our example or in our demo, we are going to use JSON along with RESTful web services, and then we are going to implement a wrapper on top of the existing SIF APIs that are present along with MDM. So let's go ahead and check out the demo of post and get using the REST client. Let me first quickly show you the data model I have created for this particular demo. For this demo, I am worried about three tables: CBO party, CBO communication, and CBO address. So this CBO party just has one column, party name, and CBO communication and CBO address are child of this particular party. So if you see here, I have a row ID party, which would be my foreign key to the party row ID object, and then the remaining attributes of address. So same with communication. I have this communication type, subtype, value, and the foreign key to the party row ID object. Just three tables: party, communication, and address. And let me go ahead and show you the Java code that's being implemented for this particular web service. So framework wise, I'm using Jersey framework, which is for the RESTful service. Jersey is like a implementation of the RESTful web services, and then I'm using Spring. Very limited features of Spring, just to make life easy with respect to the properties we need to set for the Siberian client that we are going to create. And so this is the web.xml file wherein I just named this application as EJB client test. And then if you could see here, I have provided the name of the controller package. So this will contain the list of packages which are going to contain the RESTful service implementation. So if you see in controller, I have this resource class which will contain the actual implementation of the methods. So I told you that in this demo we'll have two examples. One is a post based method, which is a create party. Another is a get based method, it's a get party. So these two methods are being implemented in this particular class resource, which is under the controller package. So here in web.xml I provided that, and then in the filter mapping I just provided the URL pattern. So you could see here in the resource class in the top I provided a path variable. So this path again is like the entry point into this particular class. So EJB client service is the path I have provided, which I have configured in the web.xml. So whenever you hit a URL, if it contains this pattern EJB client service, then automatically the request will come to the resource, and beyond which the resolution of the URL endpoint URL will happen based upon the path we have under each method. And if you see the weblogic.xml file, the context root is again EJB client test. So let me go to the application context, and here I just have 3 beans. So these are Spring based configurations. One is a properties, so that contains the properties of the Hyperion client that we are going to create, and this implementation is on WebLogic. So you could see here the details are with respect to the WebLogic server. So the protocol we are going to use is EJB for the Hyperion client, and this is my URL. And then I have this class SIF helper. So this SIF helper will contain all the methods with respect to interacting with the hub. So based upon the put calls, or whether it's the exact search call, or even creating a client, all the code is present in this class. And then this application context provider is just used to access these beans from that resource class. So let me just show you this SIF helper. So here if you see, just in the init method I am just testing whether we can create a EJB Hyperion client successfully. If not, we'll know it in the startup itself. So that's the aim behind this particular piece of code, and this is the piece of code which will create the EJB Hyperion client. And then this one, save record. So this is used to do a put call. So if you see here, I just create a put request, set the attributes, and then once the row ID is created, just we return the row ID. And with respect to search, you can see here search query request is being framed, and the parameters are being set, and then the response is being returned back. And if you go ahead and see the resource class, so this is the place where I have actually called the SIF helpers. So let's see the create party first. So what I do here is just get the SIF helper from the application context, and then just parse the JSON input which comes in, and then call the put request. So if you see here, we'll have multiple save record calls. So initially we do the save record for party, then for address, and then for communication. And one party can have n number of addresses and n number of communication. So that is being coded here. And if you see here, there is a transaction which is being created, and the transaction will be committed in the end in case all the calls are successful. Else if there is any error, the transaction is rolled back. So there is no need for transaction with respect to get. So in get, we just receive the row ID object as the input, and then we fire the exact search calls one after the other for each table, like party, and then the address, and then the communication, and then display the result. So let me just show you the sample post call and fire it from a RESTful client. So if you could see here, I have the URL. So this URL is framed as follows. So HTTP, which is the protocol to be used, localhost, which is the server to be used, like we use the localhost here, and 7001 is the port number. EJB client test is the context route that I had here, and EJB client service is here. EJB client service is something we had in the resource class, EJB client service. Then create party. So create party is this remaining part which is there in the resource create party method. Okay, let me go ahead and fire this. In the RESTful client we have Firefox. Let me just go ahead and change the name so that it's easy to identify. Let's just modify the address as well. So let me go ahead and fire this call. So if you could see here, before I fire the call, let me show this request to you. So we have this let me remove the sample response from here. So this is the JSON request which goes in. So we have this party name for the party and addresses. I just have one address, and then followed by communication group, which is a list of communication addresses. So let me go ahead and fire this. So once I fire this, you could see in the logs that initially the party record was inserted, and then this was the row ID, and then address, and then communication. So all these records were saved successfully, and we could see the response that row ID 4001 for party record is created with other details. So this way we can make a composite create request using the multiple put calls. And here let me go ahead and show you a sample get call. So a get call can be made directly from the browser itself. So if I fire this here, so recently we created 40,001 Magenta Smith. So it is EJB client service. So you could see the response which comes for this party row ID. Let me fire it in RESTful, so REST client in the Firefox plugin, because that will give a better view. So if you see here, I have to change the method to get in case it's a get call, and I no need to give the body because it's not required. Just if you could send this, and you could see the response, we could see whatever record we created is being returned. So let's fire something which is not there, say for example 40,002. So I have not handled that particular request, and we are throwing an internal server error. The reason why an internal server error comes is that there is no record, and it is having no records in that particular table 40,002 row ID party. Right, so let me go ahead and show you once again. So what if I fire a post call for a get based service? It will throw me a 405 method not allowed. Okay, so it clearly says that you should use a get. So if I fire it for 40,001, I get 200 OK with the actual response. So I'll be providing the sample code in the Informatica marketplace. You can get the sample code from there, and we would always love to hear from you. You can tweet us at twitter.com/infosupport, and you can write emails to us at supportvideos@informatica.com. Thanks for your time. Have a good day. Bye.